everyone, Michelle here from Gardening TLC, and welcome to my garden. I have been working really hard in my garden this year, weeding, feeding, cutting things back, planting things from seeds to plants. But now it's looking really good and I want to enjoy some of the fruits of my labor. Today is kind of an icky, sticky day. We have weather coming in, the humidity is pretty high. I don't necessarily want to plant anything. I just want to play in the garden, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go around and forage some beautiful foliage and flowers and just create in the she shed. All right, you guys ready? Let's do this. Come on. You do not have to have a gazillion flowers to be able to do this. And even if you have 0 flowers, you can still do this. You could always run to the grocery store and buy a little bouquet of flowers and then find all the foliage in your own yard. Pretty much every foliage I've ever tried has worked. There's a couple tricks that you need to do to get the foliage to drink, especially if it's woody or if you're cutting off of woody things, what to cut off of those things. So I thought I'd go around and show you some of what we're gonna gather and then we'll create. Are you ready? Let's go. We've had a lot of rain this year. In fact, we've had so much rain that I'm getting some flopping going on in my garden with some of my larger plants. Now, this is a Baptisia australis. Sometimes I cut this plant back, sometimes I don't. I did not cut it back this year. I just never got around to it, and now I'm kind of glad I didn't because it makes great foliage for cut flowers. And so we are going to go in and we're going to harvest some of this, and it's going to give us some really long stems. So this is a great one to cut. Now, when you're going around and you're looking for foliage to cut, you can pretty much cut anything you want, but what you're really looking for is new growth, tender growth. You don't want really thick woody things because they won't have the ability to draw water up into the stem after you cut it. They will a little bit if you like pound the stem or cut a slit in it, but they won't last as long as the tender new stuff. So what I'm looking for is foliage on shrubs and trees that are new, or I'm looking for big perennials that have great foliage, but maybe the flowers are done. So we're gonna go around and get some of the foliage that we wanna use first. Remember, cut it long because you can always cut it shorter later. I like this 9-bark foliage too, so I'm going to take 2 or 3 stems off of this. I'm going to cut it really long, but I want to try and get it so that it's not a big, fat, thick, woody piece. I just want the kind of new growth from this year, but I don't want to put a hole in my shrub, so don't do that. So I'm just going to selectively take a few pieces off. Now that I've cut my branches out and I didn't make a big hole in my 9-bark, what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip off the bottom leaves and just throw those away. This is the part right here that I want to put in the water, and I am pulling a wagon around with me with 3 buckets so that I can put my foliage in it. Now the other thing was, you saw me pick that Baptisia really long and big. I could probably leave it like that for a while, but because it's so big, it's kind of falling over and out of my bucket, so I'm going to break it down right now so I can keep going through the garden. But let me show you how to break it down. So I have a pretty big piece right here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to where the joints are and I'm just going to cut it. If there's leaves on the bottom stems, I'm just going to pull those off. So my goal here is to make this stem smaller. Now this piece right here probably had a seed pod on it, and I'm just going to clip those off, and then I'm just going to pull off any bottom branches. So now I've got this piece right here that I can put in the water and I can use it. Now I still want some branches that are going to be forked like this, so I might leave this one just like this, or I could break it down even further. Now sometimes I don't like to break it all the way down until I'm ready to like create whatever it is I'm going to create, but for the purpose of these going in the bucket, I'm going to break them down a little bit smaller and get them in there. New growth on Woodgilla works pretty good too. So we have this Sunset Monet here that's got a nice variegated leaf on it. And then we've also got some Wine and Roses, which is a dark purple foliage. So we're going to gather some of those. Another really good branch to get, if you have any kind of willow and you can get the soft part that's just grown on the willow, it's nice and long and wispy, that makes a nice branch too. Isn't that nice foliage? Yeah, that's gonna be great. All right, we're just gonna strip off the bottom leaves and put it in the bucket. Let's go find some willow. I have a pretty good supply of willow along one of the edges of our drive-throughs at the garden center, and it always has nice, young, supple willow on it, and that's what I wanna grab. I don't wanna grab old stuff like this that's really thick. I want this really thin stuff up here, and I'll show you. It looks green. So you can see it right here. It's nice and green. And even if I trim it down a little bit further and I get these, one, it's really flexible. And two, it looks great. And it has a really good shelf life in your vase. So we're gonna cut some of this and take this over there as well. This should be plenty for what we wanna do. And that's just it. You don't have to take a lot of any one thing. You can take a lot of different things and then create different textural things in whatever it is that you're creating. If you want to try a little evergreen, Arbovita works really good. It's got a nice flat leaf to it. And again, cut more from the bottom, go in and cut in various places so you don't make a great big hole in your Arbovita, because they are slow to grow. You might think of this more as winter foliage, but it actually looks really good mixed in with the other greens. So we're just going to get a little bit. It's for a textural difference. I just cut 5 pieces, that's it, and I made sure I had long stems. Now, these are woodier than everything else that we've cut, but evergreens seem to do a little bit better, and I'll show you a little trick when we go to put this together in our arrangement of how to get this to drink a little bit better. Another thing that adds great textural element into the arrangement that you're making is grasses. So I have a lot of grasses that are ready. I really like this one. This is a panicum called Northwind. And so I'm just gonna cut a little chunk of these out as well. You can see the panicles on these kind of grow up through the grass, and I really like that. All right, let's just get some of these. And again, I'm just gonna cut a little bit out. And if I want more, I'll cut a little bit from each one. I don't wanna leave a hole. Aren't those pretty? Those are gonna look so nice in there. I always like to give updates of my pots, and this is one of the ones that we did back in May, and we drug it out here and put it in front of the propane tank so that we had something pretty. And this would be one of the pots that I would call a fail. This plant was way bigger than I thought it was gonna be, and it is a Mahogany Splendor hibiscus. It's fallen over a couple times because it got top heavy, and so some of the branches have broken. It got so big that the flowers that we put in here really got gobbled up. And the only thing you really see is the potato vine. We've been cutting on this thing and using the foliage inside to make floral arrangements, and now we're gonna get some of it for our own use as well. So not a total loss, maybe a fail when it comes to saying that's one of my beautiful pots that we created, but you know what? We're gonna make the best use of it and use the foliage. Look at those. Aren't those gorgeous? So I will plant this again, just not in a pot. I'll do it in the ground. Love this. The last foliage I'm going to get is off of these Boston ferns. We have them growing under the eaves at the garden center. They just make it look lush and pretty, but the foliage on here, it's great. So we're going to get some of this as well. There it is. These are awesome. Oh my gosh, it's hot out here. It is so muggy. All right, so we are at the zinnia bed now. This is one bed that I planted full of zinnia so that we could cut them and use them at Stems Floral, so we're gonna steal a few of them. We planted this late, probably July 1st, so it's just now starting to get ready. Zinnias are definitely cut and come again, and the more you cut them, the more you'll get them. One of the things with zinnias, to get a good vase life out of them, you wanna make sure that you wiggle the stem and it's stiff. If it's wussy or wiggly, like this one, see how I wiggle it and it just kinda is really super loose? I don't want to cut that, it's not ready. What I want is a nice, like this one's still kind of loose too. Here we go. This one has got a nice stiff stalk on it. You can feel it too. It feels stiffer, the other one feels weak. And so once it's stiff enough to cut, you can cut it. So we're gonna get this one. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna follow the branch down. Now, typically when a zinnia blooms, it's gonna have 2 side shoots as well. If you wanna cut below that, you can, but you will lose the side shoots, or you just cut down as far as the shoot will go until it reaches the 2 that fork out, cut it there, and then it'll force the other 2 to grow and bloom. Let me show you. This is the one that I want to cut, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here. See how there's a side shoot right here and there's a side shoot right here. Those eventually will make flowers. So what I'm going to do is follow this stem down to right here. Now this isn't going to be a very long flower. It's going to be fairly short. I'm going to pull the leaves off of this, but it's going to work for what I'm doing because I am doing a low arrangement with these. So even though this stem isn't very long, it's going to work. But what's going to happen now is it's going to force these to grow and bloom, and then I'll have those later. I'm going to go through and see if I can find some that are ready, and we're going to get them cut. If we don't get enough, we do have them growing at my house, and we can definitely get them over there. I have all these maple trees that line my property, and we had a storm last night, and whenever there's a storm there's branches. So sometimes you can find really cool shaped branches that you can use in arrangements, and they're already, you know, dead, so you don't have to worry about whether or not they'll last in the vase. You're just looking for things that you can put in the vase that are going to look interesting, and branches will do that for you. So maple branches are pretty cool, and birch branches, that's also a messy tree. Those can look really cool as well. So I'm just going to look around the ground and see what I can find. This is definitely not a good hair day. It is hot out here. There is a little bit of a breeze, but it's so thick and heavy that you feel like you're just covered in ick. Yeah, it's that kind of a day. But we're going to keep going. Now we are going to go from flower bed to flower bed and just pick some flowers. You're going to find some flowers work, some flowers don't. And you know how you figure out what works and what doesn't? You go out and you pick some and you do trial and error. Some are going to have a short vase life, some will have a long vase life. Now, I am making my arrangements and they're going to be in the she shed, which is outside in this heat. So I probably cut the shelf life in half easily. But that's okay. I'm going to enjoy it for 2 or 3 days, and then if I want to make something else, I can. The other thing I love about doing this, it's a nice leisurely time in your garden. Even when it's hot and sticky like this, it's still a nice time in your garden. And I like that I can put some things together and I can bring them to people I know. And it's a great gift to give somebody that they're not even expecting it. You can just leave it on their porch or you can bring it over. It's a great hostess gift. I like to make them for my kids to take home. And it's just something that I love to do. They know I love it, so they know it comes from the heart. And yeah, it's just so satisfying to go and pick out of your own garden. All right, let's go from bed to bed and just pick some pretty flowers. Good place to forage is a field or along the side of the road. Now, different states and counties have different laws for foraging, so you want to make sure you check to make sure it's okay to do it where you live, especially if you're like in a state park or a national park or along the side of the road or on somebody's property even. You want to make sure you have permission to do that and make sure you check the bylaws where you live. I own this property, so I can go and forage all I want. Back here we've got some pretty yellow button things. I'm not quite sure what they are, but they look cool. They have a really good vase life. And then we have some Queen Anne's lace, and we're gonna get some of that too. I definitely love having choices, and I think we've got a good selection here that we can use to make something really pretty. We have our nice collection of zinnias here, some that we picked in the cut flower garden bed and some that we picked in the yard. We also found some loose strife in the backfield, so I thought that was awesome that we found some of that. We've got our wildflowers here. We've got the Queen Anne's lace, which, yeah, it can be a weed. And then we've also got tansy. So I think that's what this yellow little button is called. As we drop down, we've got some dark pink angelonia. Those were growing in the front garden. The driveway bed yielded this beautiful allium. I had to be careful picking this. It was full of bees. And the same thing with the plain and the blue salvia. We picked some of those as well. They were covered in bees. In the cottage garden and the side garden, we ended up picking some of the Verbena bonariaris. This is so awesome. I love this stuff. And we also ended up getting some Russian sage and some of the American Gold Rush Black-Eyed Susans. We picked out 2 different kinds of hydrangeas. We picked little quick fires, which are absolutely gorgeous. They kind of have that lace cap flower on it. And then we picked some of the little lime fruit punch hydrangeas, and I tried to find some of the smaller ones. So that's what we've got for flowers, and I think that's a pretty good selection. We are also going to look at our foliage. We've got the variegated woodula. We've got the mahogany splendor hibiscus, some grasses, some willow. We've got the ferns. Oh, I did end up picking some sedum as well. And then over here we've got the 9 barks. And you can already tell what's going to work and what's not going to work because it will already have started to wilt on you. If you're this far into it and it's wilting, then just throw it out and get something else that you can use. So far, none of this is wilting. Now over here, I do have a nice bucket of baptisia right here. I threw my arborvitae over there, and then I have some of the branches that we collected from the maple trees from the storm last night. I don't know if I'll use those, but we'll see. All right, so we've got a good start on this, and we are going to be making up 3 beautiful arrangements. All right, I got my pop-up bag so that we can get rid of our garbage as we go and we don't make a big mess on the floor, although I can just clean that up. We are going to make our first 2, which are going to match in these tins right here. I've had these tins for a long time. I've put silk flowers in them. I've put winter stuff in it. I've put branches in them. They're usually on my front porch, and then when we did the she shed, I brought them out here. So today we're going to be making kind of this just whimsical, taller piece. Not a lot of flowers, more focused on foliage. And if you don't have a lot of flowers, that's a good thing to do with this. We might put our branches in here. We'll see how that works out. But a lot of times when you have metal pieces, the metal pieces aren't watertight. So you want to make sure you check that before you put any flowers in it. These are not, okay? So if I try to put water in this, they're going to leak all over the place. I've had them for a long time. And even if you bought them and they were watertight, a lot of times over time your metal, it'll start to wear out. And every time you use it, you should check it because sooner or later it won't be watertight. But I'm going to use these cylinders right here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take these and drop them down inside each of my little, I guess I'm going to call them my tin vases here. That way I can put flowers in them. They'll have water and I can create the look that I'm going for. The other thing that's kind of nice though is it's only, you know, this big around on the top, so I can kind of figure out how I can make everything flow in here. So I'm going to start with baptisia first. That's that beautiful foliage that we picked off of the baptisia perennial, and it is great foliage and it kind of goes all over and it's kind of nice if it's branchy. So we're going to get that first. Now I'm not going to go through this step by step. You're going to see me put this together, and this one here we're going to put in the foliage first. Then we're going to put in any filler flowers that we want to put in here, smaller flowers. Any big focal flowers will go in after that if we decide to actually put those in. And then if we want to put the branches in, we'll put those in last. Now the one thing that I'll tell you is I don't think that there's a lot of technical skill involved in doing things like this. I think this is a visual process. And if you're not sure if you like it, just kind of stand back and look at it. Does it look balanced? Do you have a hole? Where does your eye go? Do you think you need some color here or some more texture here or some more height here? So for me, when I'm doing this, that's kind of how I do it. Because I'm not a professional florist. I mean, I have girls that work for me that are, wow, they're so good. But me, I just do what looks good, and that seems to work pretty good for me. So that's how we're going to proceed forward with these two pieces. Somehow I lost my sound, so I'm going to do a voiceover on this segment. I ran inside and got my meat tenderizer because I think it's one of the better things that I can find to use to smash up the bottom of the stems. Now you can cut a little slit in it if you want, that works too. I just think this is faster. On the woody stems, like from the shrubs, you want to make sure you're doing this so that they will drink in the container that you put them in. Check it out, aren't these awesome? I love these. I think I could have left just the foliage and not put the flowers in them. They would have looked great that way too. But I do like the little quick fire hydrangeas in here and the Verbena bonariaris. It just adds a little something to it that I just love. And really, you guys, there wasn't a whole lot to it except one, making sure I remembered to pound the stems. Two, making sure I inserted the stem into the cylinder of water. And three, just kind of standing back and looking at it every once in a while and filling it in as I felt like it needed something. And I just kept going, putting in what I liked, what visually looked good, until this is what I got. You can do that. I mean, this is pretty easy. Go forage something. You will have so much fun. All right, let's make the table piece. This one is going to be in a trowel, and it's going to be long and kind of high and short at the same time. So it's going to be fun. Let's do the next one. The next one we're going to make is in this long trowel right here. And inside of here, I have used these Super Moss containers. They've got a plastic liner in them. And I have used Oasis that I soaked in water. And we are going to be stabbing all of our stems into the Oasis. Now, we will have to water the little containers every single day. Again, this is a metal piece. It's not watertight. And I've used this before to create different arrangements, and I just love this piece. It's so fabulous on a table, and it really does kind of wow when you're done. The first thing I always do is I put the greens in, then I put the tall pieces, and then I start putting in the short pieces. And again, there is no rhyme or reason to what I do. I just visually do it and do it till I like it. That's it. Now, because I am viewing this from all sides, I want to make sure that I walk around and I look at it from all sides because this is going to go on the center of the table. hauling that Joe Pye weed when I was walking around the garden. I decided that I didn't want to waste what I had cut and gathered, so I have my branches in here. I have the rest of my baptisia, and I went and picked one Joe Pye weed. If you're not sure how high to cut it, hold it up to the edge of the table. So I want it to be about right there. So now I know where to cut. All right, in it goes. Oh, isn't that nice? I like that. All right, and I'm just going to add these just because, you know, I got them. We'll put them along the edge here. We'll put one there. You'll notice there's no leaves in the water. And one right there. Huh. Isn't that nice? This one I'm actually going to bring into the house. I don't know where I'm going to put it because I have the one I made the other day in the milk jug with the hydrangeas. That one's still looking great. So maybe in the entranceway is where I'll put this one. But let's put the table back and set up our other two arrangements that we made. Oh my gosh, I'm loving them. I think they turned out so good. Get away. I love this. I think it is so gorgeous. Oh my goodness, I think it turned out so good. That was a lot of fun. See, you can forage in the yard and make something absolutely cool. And you don't have to have a trowel. You can find any kind of container to put it in. I love that we're flanking either side with those tins. I think it matches and it looks so good. Oh my gosh, I love it. Now, yeah, I've cut the life in half by putting them out here, but I can see this out my office window, my bedroom window. And did you see the bees flying around when I was trying to make it? That was kind of fun too, having those guys in there trying to land on the flowers. Oh, this is great. I love it. It does not take much to make me a happy camper. This made me a happy camper. The fact that I grew all of that stuff makes it even better. I love that I was able to go around the yard and forage the stuff that I grew with my own two hands. That is just so cool. Not only that, it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as something like this. And I'm taking this in, and there's a bee right there, just don't move. But I'm taking this in and putting it in my entranceway. I just love it. And I love that we're able to create something that's just like, wow. At least I think it's wow. So that's all I've got for today, you guys. I hope you were entertained. I hope you are just like, I got to get outside and forage and make something beautiful. Yeah, because even if it only lasts for a couple days, it'll make you smile every time you walk by it. It's such an encouraging, uplifting thing to do. All right, so I'm Michelle. I hope you get your hands in the dirt today, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.